This video is an introduction to solving trig equations and how we solve simple trig equations of the form sin k equals c, cosine k equals c, or tan k equals c. We're going to solve the equations to the nearest degree, all three significant figures. Read the question, see what the question asks for. The first value we get is what we call the principal value. This is a solution your calculator comes up with. We can then use the graph to find as many other solutions as we need, depending on the interval we're asked to find solutions within. The first way we find an alternative solution is by symmetry. So for here, we found for this sine we have 37 degrees. We find the next value using symmetry, like so. You can see here that there's a line of symmetry at 90 degrees. And you can see clearly here from the graph that this 37 degrees here is the same as 37 degrees here. In other words, if we have a solution at 37 degrees, we will have another one at 180 minus 37 degrees, 143 degrees. We can then find further values by using the period of the graph, how it repeats itself every 360 degrees. So we have two more solutions here, and these solutions will be at 37 plus 360 and 143 plus 360, and then a further two solutions here, and this obviously goes on forever. What we've found here is all the solutions between 0 and 900 degrees. For cosine, it's a similar process with one slight difference. We get the principal value from the calculator. We then use the graph in two ways. We use symmetry, like so. Here we've found an angle with a cosine value here of 114 degrees. We can see now how from this principal value we can find the symmetry value in a similar way to what we did with the sine graph. There's a difference here though. We can see that this angle here is the same as this angle here. So if this is 114 degrees, this angle here is clearly going to be 360 minus 114. So whereas with sine we had 180 minus the principal value, for cosine we have 360 minus the principal value. To find further values, we use the period of the graph. We use the fact it repeats every 360 degrees again, in a similar way to what we did with the sine graph. Here, looking at between minus 360 and 360, we will be subtracting 360 degrees from our principal value and our symmetry value. Tan graph is really easy. With the tan graph we don't need to worry about symmetry because it repeats every 180 degrees. So we find our principal value and then we just add or subtract 180. So here's the process for solving trig equations. We find a principal value using a calculator. We find the symmetry solution using either 180 minus the principal value for sine, 360 degrees minus the principal value for cos, For tangent, we needn't bother with this part of the process. We just go straight to using the graph period. For tan, we add or subtract 180 degrees. For sine or cos, we add and subtract 360. Remembering with sine and cos, we do that to both the principal value and the symmetry value. Okay, your turn. Have a go at these here, pause the presentation and then look at the answers when you're ready. First solution, 60 degrees from the calculator. It's cosine, so it's 360 minus for the second solution. And that's all that we've got in the period between 0 and 360 degrees. No need to look at the period of the graph and add 360 or subtract. For this sine, we get 60 degrees, and remember with sine it's 180 minus, so our second value is 120. And again, because it's only between 0 and 360, we don't need to look for any further values. Solving the equation tan x equals minus 0.5, we're looking for all the values between minus 180 and 360. We get minus 27 degrees as our principal value, and we know that the only other values we can get with the tan graph are by adding or subtracting 180 degrees. So adding 180 gives us 153 degrees. Adding a further 180 gives us 333 degrees, and we can see that those are the only values we'd get within that interval. So 3 angles as solutions to that question. Final question. We get a principal value of minus 12 degrees, which does fit into our interval. We've got, it's not hard to see using the graph symmetry what that angle there is. It's minus 168 degrees. And you can see that there's not actually any other values that fall between that interval. These two values are bigger than 180, aren't they? So we get 49 degrees and 311 degrees. If we take 360 off 311, we get minus 49, which does fall into this interval. If we take 360 off 49, then it would be outside the interval. And you can see from the graph there why that negative 49 degrees value works. Remembering that cosine is what we call an even function. So the cos of any angle, the cos of the negative equivalent of that angle will be the same. Okay, well hopefully you were successful at those. If so, you're ready to move on to the lesson. Otherwise, please go over things, make sure that you understand this topic before the lesson.